Hi, my name is Andreas, and some say the perfect aircraft does not exist yet. So I decided to build it on my own. If you love aircraft, follow me, get it from dream to reality. Let's go! Welcome back, my friends, and today will be awesome. Make sure that you watch the video until the end, because today is some progress that you don't wanna miss. As you can see, the lower half of the aircraft is finished with sanding, and so we will turn it right side up again and also polish the upper surfaces of the fuselage. The elevator area now has a slight angle on the surface, and this should be sufficient so that we can take it out of the form later on. Also on the other side you can see that everything is ready for the next step, making the negative forms. But in the meantime, there was another part being worked at in the background. During the last 2 weeks, we created molds for the engine inlets. Our plan is to have one inlet built before doing the fuselage molds, so we can have a test fit if everything aligns well, and if not, we get the last chance to apply some corrections before having the fuselage molds built. Tom is preparing the parting surface, which divides the form into a left and a right half. It will be held together with screw inserts that he just drilled the holes for. We are locking it in place with hot glue and then fill the gaps with yellow wax. We only need the part which is black. This is the reason for having the light yellow areas in lesser quality, as these areas will not be glassed in the first place, and anything being there would be trimmed away afterwards anyway. The form is already waxed, and Tom is now applying 2 layers of PVA release agent. It will ensure that we can pull off the negative mold afterwards, and it can be washed with normal water. This is why it's the go-to release agent in composite manufacturing. Now that the plug is prepared, it's time to build the negative molds. The first layer is a tooling gel coat, which will give it a hard surface which can endure a lot of abuse. It's a mixture of epoxy glue filled with aluminum powder and black dye. We prefer to use epoxy-based coats as they have less toxic fumes and should better adhere to the follow-up layers, which also use epoxy. We only had the pitfall that the chopped strand mats are using an emulsive binder which is not dissolving very well when used with epoxy instead of polyester. This is why we try to use as much fabric mats as possible. In the last years, the price of woven fabric fell, so that there is even not much benefit to using chopped strand mats anymore. Unfortunately, there is no more footage of the build as my camera battery failed again. I need to use a power bank in the future, as it proved unable to record more than 1.5 hours on the internal battery. Okay, so now it's time to prepare the crane and put the aircraft finally back in the direction it belongs. It now has gained quite some weight, but the biggest concern is that we sanded and polished the surface so well that we will likely not be able to hold it without it slipping. The plan is to have the tail lifted up and then have one person in the back rotating it by holding onto the rudder, while we will hold the front with 2 other persons. This way it has no chance of sliding out of our hands. So the big moment has finally arrived, and Niklas was kind enough to help us out. Everything went surprisingly well, and now let's have a deeper look at the aircraft. At first glance, it seems there is not much to be done on the upper surfaces. Sanding was already finished before, So all what is left to do is to give it a little bit of polishing. Let's also have a better look at the changes to the tail. Here you can see the 1-inch extension with the angled surfaces. The form should now be even sufficient for small scale production. And here is a small glimpse into how the inlets are going to look like. Don't forget that there is 1 inch of offset due to the step, and that this is also not the real inlet, but just the plug for the part without the lip. But you get the vibe, and I have to say it looks awesome. And last for today, we attached the mock-up elevator to give you a glimpse into how the empennage will later look like. Again, there is a step now in between, but it's not so obvious to see here anyways. The form of the tail is looking stunning and the parts are aligning perfectly now. It was definitely worth to spend another 2 weeks of effort here. So thanks for staying with me until the end. In the meantime, Tom already did the preparation for the parting surfaces, which means that creating the molds of the fuselage is likely not much more than a week away. Hope to see you again in the next episode, and for now, as always, fly safe, fly Horus.